The 7 most powerful photos of Pope Leo XIV, Robert Francis Prevost. Number 7. Meeting with St. John Paul II. This historic photograph, probably taken between the late 1980s or early 1990s, captures an intimate and solemn moment. The young Robert Francis Prevost respectfully greets the then Pope, St. John Paul II. The scene takes place indoors, possibly during a private audience in the Vatican or at a high-profile church event. St. John Paul II, with a serene expression and a fatherly gesture, wears his traditional white cassock with a short mozzetta and skull cap, accompanied by a golden pectoral cross resting on his chest. His face, illuminated by a direct light source, projects closeness and firmness at the same time. His right hand extends warmly toward Prevost, who greets him with a slight bow and an expression of admiration and gratitude. Robert Francis Prevost appears here as a young man, probably around 30 to 35 years old. He wears a black habit with a white clerical collar, characteristic of members of his order. His still dark, curly hair, his slim build, and his respectful posture accentuate his youth and humility in the presence of the pontiff. In the background, another smiling priest observes the scene, adding spontaneity and a human touch to the moment. Number 6. The missionary on horseback in Peru. In this outdoor photograph, we see Robert Francis Prevost mounted on a light-coated horse with a dark mane. In what appears to be a rural region of Peru, the rocky terrain, sparse vegetation, and the sloping landscape suggest an Andean or mountainous area, perhaps in Cajamarca or Cusco, regions where he carried out pastoral work for several years. The image appears to have been taken in the early 2010s, when he was already a bishop and provincial superior, although still distant from the Vatican scene. Prevost is wearing casual clothing, gray pants, a black jacket, comfortable shoes, and dark sunglasses that contrast with his completely gray hair. This attire indicates that she was on a missionary journey, far removed from ecclesiastical protocol. She smiles openly as she points toward the horizon with her right hand, conveying closeness and joy in the midst of the experience. The horse is covered with a colorful blanket with horizontal stripes, red, purple, fuchsia, white, and yellow, typical of rural Andean communities. This textile detail not only adds vibrancy to the image, but also culturally contextualizes the scene, reinforcing its connection to the Peruvian people. The photograph has a sharp focus on the subject, while the slightly blurred background accentuates the sense of open space and connection to the land. Number 5. Dialogue with Benedict XVI. The image portrays a moment of profound ecclesial significance, a face-to-face encounter between Robert Francis Prevost and Pope Benedict XVI. The scene takes place outdoors, in what appears to be a garden courtyard within the Vatican, possibly in the gardens of the Apostolic Palace, or a papal residence such as Castel Gandolfo. The background, composed of an ivy-covered wall, white flowers, and a framed Marian image, suggests a reserved, spiritual setting, carefully arranged for private audiences. The two protagonists are affectionately shaking hands. The then Pope Benedict XVI, dressed in his traditional white cassock, skull cap, and golden pectoral cross, bows his head slightly with a warm and attentive expression. His posture, although firm, reflects openness and closeness. On the other side, Robert Prevost, wearing a dark habit typical of his religious order, probably the Augustinians, holds the pontiff's hand with both hands, with a clear smile that denotes respect and gratitude. Based on the physical appearance of both, it can be estimated that the image was taken between 2006 and 2012, when Benedict XVI was pontificate and Prevost was already a prominent figure within his order or recently appointed bishop. The soft, possibly natural, lighting enhances the Pope's white tones and highlights the expression on both faces, generating an atmosphere of peace and fraternity. Number 4. Blessed by Francis. The photograph captures a moment of extremely high symbolic significance in the ecclesial life of Robert Francis Prevost. His reverent encounter with Pope Francis during a public ceremony at the Vatican. The scene, full of closeness and emotion, is likely set in St. Peter's Square during the consistory of September 30, 2023, when Prevost was created a cardinal by the Argentine pontiff. Robert Prevost appears on the left, dressed in the traditional red cardinal's cassock, adorned with gold details and a visible metal chain in the center of his chest. His face lights up with an open and sincere smile, while his hands are gently clasped with those of the Pope. Francis, leaning toward him with an affectionate expression, wears his white liturgical alb and the papal mitre with gold and brown lines, a symbol of pastoral authority. The soft, natural light entering from above highlights their faces, creating a solemn yet deeply human atmosphere. The neutral background of white columns does not distract from the central gesture, a greeting that is simultaneously a blessing, an affirmation, and a fraternal gesture. There are no speeches or glances toward the crowd, just two men of the Church recognizing themselves in a line of spiritual continuity. Number 3. Election of Pope Leo XIV. The image shows the solemn moment when Robert Francis Prevost, already proclaimed Pope Leo XIV, is presented to the world from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The deep burgundy background, soft frontal lighting, and centered framing help highlight the figure of the new pontiff in his first public appearance after the traditional announcement of the Habemus Papam. Dressed in the white papal cassock, covered by the traditional lace roche and the scarlet mazzetta adorned with the papal vestment of red velvet and gold embroidery, the new pope adopts a posture of firmness and recollection. His hands are clasped in front of his chest, and his serene and steady gaze conveys a balance between humility and awareness of the weight of the task he has just received. Leo XIV's face reveals the maturity of his years and the experience accumulated over decades of pastoral life and service within the Church. He wears the white skull cap, symbol of the pontificate, and thin-framed glasses that do not hide the restrained intensity in his eyes. His expression is sober, without artifice or grandiloquent gestures. It reflects the depth of a moment that changed the course of his life and that of the entire Church. Number 2. Celebrating the First Pontifical Mass. The image portrays a moment of supreme solemnity, the celebration of Robert Francis Prevost's First Pontifical Mass as Pope Leo XIV. Dressed in white and gold liturgical vestments, the new pontiff is at the heart of an official ceremony within the Vatican, likely at the main altar of St. Peter's Basilica, where the most emblematic papal celebrations take place. He wears a white Roman-style chasuble, decorated with an elegant geometric gold braid. On his head is the papal mitre, in ivory and gold tones, a symbol of magisterium and spiritual authority. In his right hand, he holds the ceremonial crozier, a richly ornamented golden cross that represents the pastoral leadership of the successor of Peter. His left hand rests on his chest, displaying the fisherman's ring, the Pope's distinctive symbol as the universal guide of the Church. The background, composed of ornate draperies and columns carved with Renaissance motifs, majestically frames the scene. The warm lighting highlights the fabrics, embroidery, and the sheen of liturgical gold, providing a sense of sacredness and grandeur without being ostentatious. Leo XIV's serene, slightly smiling expression projects peace and confidence in a visible blend of responsibility and spirituality. Number 1. First official papal portrait of Pope Leo XIV. This official portrait marks the visual beginning of Robert Francis Prevost's pontificate as Pope Leo XIV. Captured with photographic precision and institutional design, the portrait presents a serene, sober, and deeply symbolic image of the new successor of Peter. Dressed in the traditional white cassock, the Pope appears frontally, turned slightly to his left, looking with restrained warmth and a slight smile that conveys closeness, humility, and poise. On his chest rests a large gold pectoral cross, suspended by a thick, also gold chain, a symbol of his pastoral role as guide of the universal Church. He also wears the white skull cap, the distinctive garment of popes, without a mitre or crozier, reinforcing the intention of showing an intimate rather than liturgical portrait. The diffuse, dark background, with nuances suggestive of the interior of the Vatican, allows the papal figure to stand out clearly and without distractions. At the bottom of the image, against a clean white frame, is the official papal coat of arms of Leo XIV on the left, along with his stylized autograph signature, Leo pp14, the traditional abbreviation for Papa Pontifex 14. The overall style of the photograph follows the canons of modern papal portraiture: sobriety, visual dignity, and iconographic clarity.
Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.